Hello, candle lovers. Thank you for tuning in to me today. My name is Greg, and this is all Aboot candles. Happy Sunday, everyone. Every Sunday, I like to do the weekly wax wrap up. This is when I go through all of the candles that I finished burning this week, talk a little bit about how they smelled, how they performed, all of that good stuff. I do have full-length reviews out for a lot of these candles, so if you are interested in checking that out, I will link to it below. These videos tend to get a little bit lengthy sometimes, my friends, and so grab a snack, get yourselves comfy, but also I do mark these videos with chapters so that you can navigate to the parts of the video that you might be most interested in. Let's start things off with Cinnamon Pinecone. This was a really nice surprise from Bath & Body Works this fall. We haven't seen this candle out for a while, and out of all of the fall collections that we got this year, this was my favorite packaging. I thought all of the candles in this collection just looked beautiful. Another one of my favorites being the Mahogany Vanilla in this collection. Oh my god, the Mahogany Vanilla in this collection is beautiful. I backed that up so many times because I love Mahogany Vanilla, but that candle tends to come out in packaging that I'm not super thrilled about. So I just thought that this one was beautiful. Cinnamon Pinecone was really, really good too. We had a cream colored Bath & Body Works stamped lid on there. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen this fragrance. I couldn't really remember that much about it, honestly. The scent notes are fresh pine, cinnamon bark, cedar, and juniper. And this is really, really lovely. I can see why so many people were so excited to get this fragrance back. There really isn't anything about it that's like mind-blowing or like new or, super noteworthy, other than the fact that it's like a fall Christmas spice candle, but it's just perfectly balanced. It's so well balanced and nuanced in a way that a lot of these sort of cinnamon holiday spice candles don't always have. Like some of these types of fragrances tend to get very, very one-dimensional and is often overtaken by the cinnamon component. But this candle, to me, really nails the balance of the cinnamon, the juniper, the cedar, and the fresh pine. Like all four of those notes are very present in here, but they're just balanced beautifully. And it's not nearly as heavy on the cinnamon as I was worried it was gonna be, especially if you're gonna call it Cinnamon Pinecone. I was expecting something very foresty, but very cinnamon forward, and that's not what this is. I'd say that this is like forest first, like, oh, those forest vibes of the balsam, the pine, the juniper, and then the cinnamon just gives it a little bit of a sort of subtle punch. You know what I mean? Not like a full-throated punch, just a little bit of a, oh, give it to me, oh, you know what I mean? It's lovely. It's got a little bit of crispness to it, but it's also got sort of like a soft foresty vibe as well. It's got like a bit of a fresh air, like that sort of fresh air foresty vibe. I'd say first and foremost, this is a very like outdoors foresty candle. It's just a lovely, lovely forest that I would love to get lost in. I really, really ended up liking this one. I did see a couple of people in my comment section say that they didn't understand all of the hype to this candle. It really smelled like a pretty basic sort of kitchen spice, Christmas time type potpourri situation. And I would agree with that. The difference for me with this and a lot of the other candles that come out that are similar is that this one just strikes a beautiful balance and nuance between all of the different components in it. And it just works so well. And it smells so like bright and natural and foresty. It's kind of in like a middle range, honestly. Like, it's sort of a middle to high ranging fragrance, but it's got a nice sort of like earthy, balsamy kind of depth to it as well. I really, really, really enjoyed this candle. It was a repurchase for me. This would be a recommendation for you. It burned beautifully. I burned it all the way down till there was like nothing left there, and I could see the wick nickels. It never dudded out. It never gave me itty bitty wicks or teeny tiny flames. It was a really beautiful, good, clean burn from start to finish. I do think I remember needing to limit the burn times a little bit. We had the thin core wicks on this one, and so sometimes like after 2 hours or so it was really getting flamey, and you had to blow it out and call it a day. But I would rather a candle do that than be giving me a dud out situation. I'd say the strength and throw on this was a very, very solid like 6 or a 6.5 in my more open space, which for this fragrance I think is more than acceptable. I really like it when a fragrance gives me like a 7 in a more open area, but some fragrances, and I'll say this fragrance, isn't really meant, you don't want them to be increasing any of the components in this candle to give it any more extra punch. If they were to make this candle stronger, then perhaps it would be the cinnamon that was really overwhelming, or the balsam that was really overwhelming, and you might lose that nicely balanced sort of nuance of this fragrance. So I actually think the strength and throw was perfect for this fragrance. I never put it in the bedroom or the bathroom. It was in my more open space, and yeah, depending on how like deep the burn was, I'd say it was around a 6 or a 6.5 for strength and throw. So it was totally detectable, had a nice sort of nuanced presence to it. I really enjoyed this one. And I did put an extra one in my cart last time I placed a BOPIS order. I put an extra one of these in my cart, so I'm saving one for next year as well. I enjoyed it that much. Cinnamon Pinecone, absolutely lovely. I also finished up an Autumn Woods from Bath and Body Works, and this came out in the White Barn sort of fall collection, like the first wave of fall candles that we saw in the store this year. I really like the way that this collection looks. They're starting to give us very, very big, more square-shaped labels on the White Barn collections. I don't have a problem with it. I actually kind of like how they put the scent notes on the front of the candle. There's a really nice sort of iridescent sheen to this glass, and it is a colored glass. It's not a wraparound label, which is nice. It looked really pretty when it was burning. And the scent notes on Autumn Woods are dark walnut, English lavender, and white amber. I had burned this candle before a little while ago. I haven't given it a try for quite some time, and I really, really, really enjoyed this. It's a nice sort of like woodsy floral. There's definitely a strong lavender component in this, but it's not a super like sharp and stern lavender note. It's a softer, and it does say English lavender. It's definitely a softer English lavender, but the lavender component is definitely there. I wouldn't say I'm really picking up on a dark walnut or like much of a nuttiness. This is mostly a woodsy lavender candle with a little bit of a bright amber in it. It's not like a dark, like resinous, like perfumey amber, although there is something about this fragrance. It is just a touch perfumey because of that like amber and lavender combo, but the woodsiness just kind of stops it short from being a fairly straight up like perfume vibe. It's lovely. I'd say the lavender is like the first top note, like the main impression of this fragrance. And then there's a nice sort of woodsy, kind of foresty component. And then in the base, there's kind of a light sort of smooth amber note. I thought it was really, really lovely. I ended up enjoying this candle quite a bit more than I thought I would. Although the strength and the throw on this wasn't fantastic. It was a really good burn though. I burned it all the way down to the bottom there. We had like thick ropey wicks on this one. And I do think that there was 1 or 2 burns on here where it was struggling a little bit, giving me a little bit of that itty bitty flame situation, but nothing terrible. Usually when that happens with my candles, I just like to wait it out and eventually they correct themselves. Oh, this was really lovely, actually. Unfortunately, the strength and throw is not where I wanted it to be. It became a bedroom candle pretty fast. I'd say in my more open space, we were getting maybe like a 5 from it. So I could definitely like detect that it was there. I could smell it in my more open space, but it wasn't super prominent. It didn't have a tremendous presence. It ended up going in the bedroom for the last like 3/4 of its life. And I'd say that in the bedroom, it probably got up to like a 6 for strength and throw, like a good solid 6. So it definitely had a nicer presence in there. And I actually thought this made for a really, really lovely bedroom fragrance. It's a really nice, soft lavender note. It's a little bit of a different lavender note than we're used to getting from Bath and Body Works. It's like a nice sort of light, airy, like kind of soft lavender note. Yeah, I really ended up liking this one. I do think I would repurchase it. I don't like to recommend candles that aren't like consistently a 6 for strength and throw, you know what I mean? But if you're okay with like a bedroom candle that has some presence to it, you might end up really liking Autumn Woods. I enjoyed it quite a bit more than I thought I would. I also finished up a pumpkin cinnamon bun from Bath and Body Works, and this is the latest one they've released, I believe. I don't think we've seen it again since this like campsite collection came out. Bath and Body Works was giving us a real like camping moment at the beginning of fall here. I would love, one thing that might actually get me camping might be warm cinnamon buns. I just love. Oh, the scent notes on this candle are warm cinnamon roll, pumpkin spice, and vanilla frosting. And it says vanilla frosting and not cream cheese frosting. To me, the only thing that comes across in this fragrance is a cream cheese frosting note. I can't say I pick up on that much of a pumpkin spice, and I don't even really pick up on that much of like a bakery, like starchiness cinnamon roll. For me, the cream cheese frosting note in this fragrance really overpowers like everything else that might be happening in here. Like, really getting your nose into it when it's cold, I do pick up on just a little bit of like a bakery cinnamon spicy vibe, but that's never really come across to me that much when it's burning. When this candle is burning, it just smells like you are walking by a Cinnabon or a Cinzio in the mall, It's that cream cheese frosting that really permeates. And my God, I love a cinnamon bun with cream cheese frosting. Oh, I've always really, really liked pumpkin cinnamon bun because of that. This candle burned pretty nicely. This candle definitely was doing a little bit of a dud out situation around the halfway point. Definitely itty bitty wicks and teeny tiny flames. And I know that I just said that I just kind of like to let my candles burn and they eventually correct themselves. This one actually dudded out pretty badly for a while, to the point where I removed some wax, which for me is like a last resort. I hate playing around with like wax and tissue papers or however you choose to do it. I really hate doing that. This one did dud out pretty badly though, and I removed a little bit of wax after I blew it out, and then just trimmed the wicks a little bit the next time that I lit it, and it did fine from there on out. So just a word of warning, you might have a bit of a bumpy ride with this candle. And I also went through 2 pumpkin cinnamon buns from, was this last year as it came out? These ugly candles, oh my goodness. These ones were poured in 2023. Ugh, like these labels were just, and I mean, there's nothing even like pumpkin cinnamon bunny about this at all. The lid was kind of cute though. But so these 2 pumpkin cinnamon buns, they must have been at semi-annual sale for 75% off, which would have been the only reason why I would have purchased 2 of these ugly versions of it. Although pumpkin cinnamon bun isn't usually a candle that we see a lot of leftovers hanging out by the time SAS rolls around. I'm not too sure why I ended up with all of these, but when I was pulling some like fall stuff from previous years that I wanted to get through last year, year I ran into both of these, I would say that they burned exactly the same. So it doesn't really seem like the formula changed much. Both of these candles had white wax and thick ropey wicks on them. And this one, once I got it down to about the halfway point, it was the same issues with just dudding out. Although I don't think it got to the point with this one where I was like removing wax from it. But yeah, I remember this one struggled at around the halfway point. And so then I also went through this one, but this one just got lamped. It just went under the candle lamp in my kitchen. Let me tell you, I didn't burn all of these candles at the same time. But I did at one point have this one melting in my kitchen and this one like burning in the living room. And it really was like I am in the middle of a cinnamon bun bakery. It was delicious smelling. I really do love this fragrance, that cream cheese frosting. Oh man, I got all of the fragrance out of this. Let's talk about strength and throw. I'll talk specifically about what I remember for this candle, since this is the one you might still be able to get on the floor right now. When I was burning it in my more open space, it was definitely like a good solid 7. Definitely a 7 for sure. I'm sure in the bedroom, this would be getting to like a 7.5 or an 8. And the one that I put under the heat lamp in my kitchen's about a medium size. This was like the first like 3 times that I heated this candle. It was a very solid 8 in there. Very, very strong. Like, it actually smelled like I might be doing some baking in my kitchen. Yeah, this was an 8 for sure. And then the subsequent, meltings, it gets lighter and lighter. It goes down to a 7 and then a 6. And then the final stop was the candle crock, at which point there really wasn't that much fragrance left in there. I got all of the fragrance out of those candles. But yeah, I went through 3 pumpkin cinnamon buns this fall. I didn't finish them all this past week. I've been hanging on to all of them to just kind of cover them all together one week, you know what I mean? Or else I'd have like 3 weeks in a row where it was like pumpkin cinnamon bun, finished one off. That would get rather repetitive and monotonous. I also finished up a Mahogany Apple from Bath & Body Works. This is probably... yeah, I think I can say this is my favorite apple candle from Bath & Body Works. I really love Mahogany Apple. I wasn't a huge fan of the packaging on this collection, but I will say that these candles looked really nice when they were burning. I mean, we're just getting really big square text boxes on some of these Bath & Body Works candles these days. The scent notes on Mahogany Apple are red mahogany woods, golden delicious apple, pink peppercorn, and fresh lavender sprigs. Oh, I love this one. I really do think this is one of the more unique apple fragrances that Bath & Body Works gives us, because there's that sort of lavender floral component to it, as well as a fairly rich, dark woodsiness. This is definitely like the lowest ranging apple fragrance that we get from Bath & Body Works, and I do tend to prefer fragrances that are in like a lower to like a medium range. This is just a really lovely, rich, woodsy apple fragrance with just a touch of a soft floral lavender on top. I think it's so well balanced. I think it's so rich and lovely smelling. It doesn't smell like one of those apple situations that you want to eat. It's more like a rich foresty apple. But then it's balanced off so nicely with just a little touch of a floral as well. But the main component of this is a really deep, rich, woodsy apple note that I just love. Yeah, Mahogany Apple. I get one of these candles every single year, maybe sometimes 2. This year I only got 1. Oh, I never pointed out that we had kind of a nice lid on this candle as well. I'd say that this performed pretty well. I burned it all the way down until there was like nothing left. Look at how tall those wicks still are. This candle never gave me any issues with dudding out or itty bitty wicks and teeny tiny flames. Really, really nice clean burn all the way down to the bottom there. Good strength and throw too. In fact, I mean, I haven't gone back to watch my past review of Mahogany Apple, but I feel like this one might have been a little bit stronger than the last one I burned. I'd say this was a very solid like 7 in my more open space. It was very noticeable, and I did put it in the bedroom for a little while, and I didn't really love it as a bedroom fragrance. It got up to like a 7.5 perhaps in there. It was considerably strong, but not really in the way that I want a bedroom fragrance to be. So it spent most of its time in my more open space because it did really well. I'd say, depending on how deep the burn was, it was averaging out at like a 7. It had a really, really lovely presence to it. Yeah, oh, I love Mahogany Apple. I'm actually kind of like second guessing myself now and wondering if maybe I should get another one. This is a candle that we usually see a lot of during semi-annual sale. I don't think it's one of their more popular apple fragrances. And so every year when I see that it has come back, I'm like pretty happy about it because I'm not sure it's like super popular, but I've always really, really liked it. And I'm actually thinking to myself, I might get another one or two. Before they do go off of the floor because I want to make sure I have one for next year. Mahogany Apple. Oh, I love this fragrance. Okay, I also finished up. Ooh, this is a good one too. Cozy Sunday Night from Bath and Body Works. Once again, not a big fan of this collection. Not much going on there. I'm not sure what these feathers have to do with a cozy Sunday night, but I will say that sort of the shade and the opacity of this wraparound made the candle look really, really gorgeous when it was burning. And we had a cute lid on this one as well. I love cozy Sunday night. If I had to pick one sort of really kind of cinnamon forward fragrance from Bath and Body Works, or like a Bath and Body Works fragrance with a fairly pronounced amount of cinnamon, this would probably be like my favorite cinnamon candle, I guess you could say. Oh, I love Cozy Sunday Night. The scent notes on here are warm cinnamon, crystallized ginger, and vanilla bean. And it's that ginger note that really makes this like cinnamon fragrance work for me. The balance between the cinnamon and the ginger, I think, is just lovely in here. And I also pick up on a woodsiness in this fragrance, which isn't listed. But if you were to actually say there was like mahogany or mahogany woods or something in this fragrance, I would totally buy that. There's like a smooth sort of mahogany and vanilla note in the base. And yeah, there's a nice sort of light, kind of like dusty cinnamon note on top. And then there's a considerable amount of ginger in here, but it's not like a fresh ginger, but it's also not like a gourmand, like bakery fragrance either. The ginger is just kind of like a dried ginger note, But it doesn't come across as being like a super dry and dusty candle, but it lacks it lacks like a juiciness, but in a good way. Is any of this making any sense to you, my friends? I've been recording videos now for about 6 or 7 hours. I do think I'm starting to go a little bit loopy and having trouble speaking and getting very tired. So just bear with me here, my friends. Yeah, there's a really nice, lovely, sort of deep, rich, kind of dustiness to this fragrance that I really, really enjoy. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, it's so good. I think I'm definitely gonna get another one of these before they disappear from the floor as well. Yeah, I love Cozy Sunday Night. This is such a good candle, folks. Oh my goodness gracious me. I feel like there's a considerable amount. I pick up on graham cracker in here, I feel like there's a bit of a graham cracker note as well. It's interesting. I really love this one. I burned it all the way down till there was like nothing left. This candle did have thick ropey wicks, but it never dudded out or gave me like itty bitty wicks or teeny tiny flames. This candle has a really good presence to it. I'd say in my more open space, it gets to like a 7 for sure. Like it's a pretty unmistakable fragrance. Yeah, totally a 7 in a more open space. I did have it in the bedroom for a little while. I'd say in the bedroom, we're getting like a 7.5 or an 8 out of love this one. So no complaints about strength and throw. Cozy Sunday Night has been coming out for a couple of years now, and I really think it's become one of my very favorite like fall winter fragrances from Bath & Body Works. Anyways, moving on, I also finished up a Frozen Lake from Bath & Body Works, but my goodness, this candle looks like it's had a really rough night out on the town. I love the material that they used for the jars in this collection. I think the jars are beautiful. It's kind of like this almost sort of I wouldn't say ceramic, but like an opaque glass. And I think they look lovely, but something about the material just really attracts every little fingerprint and every little bit of dirt. You know, when you're trimming the wicks on your candles, sometimes you just get a little bit of that black stuff on your hands, on your fingertips, and then it ends up all over the candle. I apologize, Miss Frozen Lake. Let's get you a little more camera ready here. This came out in the first big wave of fall candles in the White Barn line, the same line that Autumn Woods candle was in, and I thought this was a beautiful version of Frozen Lake. This sort of frosted glass just looked beautiful when it was burning. This was a really, really lovely candle. I love Frozen Lake. I do one or two of these every single fall, winter. The scent notes on here are lavender leaves, cool eucalyptus, and juniper berries. And yeah, honestly, I don't think that there's much more to the scent notes than that. This is eucalyptus, juniper, and lavender. It's sort of in a medium to a high range. That menthol, there's a little bit of a menthol vibe coming off of the eucalyptus, which I really like actually, because it gives it that sort of frosted kind of like cooling vibe, you know? And juniper always smells a little bit like gin to me, but this is a really nice, fresh, like bright juniper note. And the lavender is lovely in this as well. It is a little bit more of like a French lavender, like a sharper lavender, but it mixes well with that more mentholated eucalyptus note, and it's just balanced really nicely. I've always really, really liked Frozen Lake, and I've always thought this has been a pretty good performing candle as well. I burned this one all the way down till it extinguished itself. I do have a bad habit of letting my candles go off a little bit longer at the end than they probably should. Like, I feel like you're really supposed to stop burning candles, you know, when you get to about this point here, when you just have less than an inch of like pretty discolored wax at the end. That really is when you should call it a day, but I tend to let them go off, and this one actually ended up extinguishing itself, which is why you do see a little bit of dirtiness at the bottom of the jar there. But this candle burned like a dream. No dudding out, no itty bitty wicks or teeny tiny flames. I'd say the strength and throw on this in my more open space is probably like a 6, maybe like a 6.5. I did put it in the bedroom. This candle gets up to a 7 for sure in the bedroom. So decent strength and throw, totally noticeable, has a really nice, lovely presence to it. Yeah, Frozen Lake, been around forever. I always really enjoy it. I love candles like this, you know, when the weather starts to change in the fall. And I usually burn another one of these when we're like deep into the winter months, you know, like December and January. I'll probably do another one as well. I also finished up Mountainside Lake, and that Frozen Lake is a good lead up to this Mountainside Lake because they're quite similar. Yeah, so this is Mountainside Lake from Goose Creek. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I think it's a full-blown dupe of Frozen Lake, but it's very, very similar. I can't say I was a huge fan of the packaging on this collection. You know, all of the candles in this collection had a very, very literal, sort of kind of cheap looking image sort of in the label in the center there. And I just didn't love how kind of on the nose they were. You know, like another one of the candles in this collection was Campsite Embers, and it was literally a picture of a campsite with a tent and like a fire burning. Just very, very literal. I really prefer sort of more abstract packed packaging, but I mean, this is very nitpicky. I will say I really liked the color of this wraparound, and there is a little bit of like a texture to it, and so when it was burning, it looked really, really lovely. The scent notes on Mountainside Lake are mountain air, fresh eucalyptus, iced lavender, and cool waters. So yes, very similar to Frozen Lake from Bath and Body Works, which is lavender leaves, cool eucalyptus, and juniper berries. We don't get a juniper note in this candle, and in fact, I don't believe that there is any juniper in this one. No, there's not. This is the Mountainside Lake. It's more straightforward, just like eucalyptus and lavender. It's nice though. It's really, really nice. Once again, it is a sort of mentholated eucalyptus note. It's not a super like lush green eucalyptus note. It's very mentholy, which I like in a candle like this. As I said, it gives you that sort of like cooling vibe, that chilly effect, you know? And yeah, lavender. I'd say that this is equal parts eucalyptus and lavender. Maybe there is a little bit of an aldehydic quality to this as well, like a little bit of an airiness. Yeah, I really, really like this one. I wouldn't say that this fragrance is as nice as Frozen Lake is, but this candle was stronger than Frozen Lake was. And I thought Frozen Lake performed okay, but this was a powerhouse, guys. And I burned it all the way down till there was nothing left. This is a very, very nice clean burn for a Goose Creek candle. I mean, I let this one extinguish itself too, I think. Oh no, those wicks are still standing up there pretty tall. I blew this out right at the very end, but man, beautiful, nice, clean burn all the way to the bottom there. This was quite strong. I'd say in my more open space, this was like a 7 or a 7.5. Like definitely noticeable. No complaints at all on the strength and throw. I did have it in the bedroom for a while. We're getting up to like an 8, an 8.5 in the bedroom. And I preferred it in the more open area. Yeah, this was a nice one. I really like Mountainside Lake. I do think that this might be a repurchase for me. I do. I enjoyed it. All right, moving on. Oh, I did not like this candle. I did not like this candle, you guys. This is Strawberry Spongecake from Goose Creek. Now, I wasn't really expecting that I was going to love this candle, but I wanted to give it a try. I am fairly new to Goose Creek. I've been buying from Goose Creek for about 2 years now, so I haven't tried a lot of their like core like staples in their like fleet of candles, you know, and I'm kind of slowly I'm okay with having eventually tried every single candle. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just that kind of person. I like a lot of variety. Not every candle needs to be, you know, a 10 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10 for me. I'll always try something because you never know when you're going to be surprised and get like a lovely strawberry gourmand fragrance. For instance, I really love that strawberry strudel from Bath and Body Works that's out right now. I think this might have been the first one to sell out in that gourmand collection, and I'm gonna have a review coming up for this one soon. It might make its way into my weekly wax wrap up next week or the week after. I feel like I'm about halfway done it, but I really like strawberry strudel. I think it's way better than strawberry pound cake. Unfortunately, this strawberry sponge cake from Goose Creek, I like even less than strawberry pound cake from Bath and Body Works. Just not a great fragrance, not a great candle, not a good performer. The scent notes on this are strawberry cake, cream cheese icing, lemon, vanilla, and buttercream. And I hate the strawberry note in this one, you guys. It's not a good one. It's a little bit sour and quite artificial. There's a sourness in this fragrance, and I know there's a cream cheese icing note, and a lot of the time if you get a lactonic note in a fragrance, it's gonna come across as sour. But to me, the sourness in this candle doesn't smell like it's supposed to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a really kind of artificial flat strawberry note. And I don't pick up on much of like a starchy or a bakery component. You know, like with that strawberry strudel candle I was just talking about, I think there's a really nice balance between the strawberry and sort of the bakery sort of starchy component in there. Whereas this one doesn't really have a bakery component. It's a flat, artificial, slightly sour strawberry note, and there is a lemon note in here. That lemon just kind of comes across as like a sort of vague kind of sourness to me. It's really just a strawberry note that I don't care for very much. I hate to say it. I apologize to people out there if this is one of your favorite Goose Creek candles. It must be popular because it's always around, but this one really rubbed me the wrong way, to the point where I would almost be willing to think that hopefully it was some sort of a batch issue maybe. Like, did anyone else burn this specific version? Because it really didn't do it for me. And when it was burning, it didn't have great strength and throw, so I didn't have to smell it that much. But it wasn't a great burn either. I still have about this much on here. I just had no desire to finish it, you guys. I don't even want it under a candle lamp or in my candle crock. And even at this point here, it started to get a little bit discolored. I'd say that the discoloration started happening when I was about halfway down the candle. And the strength and throw was like maybe, I'd say it was inconsistent. It was like a 5 or a 6 in my more open space. Like there were some burns on it that I felt like I was really struggling to smell it at all. And then when there was some burns on it that I could smell a little bit better, I was like, I don't think that it's supposed to be smelling that way. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure if it's fair for me to like 100% earnestly critique this candle, because I'd really like to think that there was something wrong with this one, some sort of a batch issue or something. I'm not sure. It was really not a very good clean burn, not a good clean fragrance, just a hard no. Not gonna be a repurchase for me, not gonna be a recommendation for you. If I'm hearing from other people in the comments section that this is usually a lovely fragrance and a great candle, maybe I would give it another try, because I would like to try one that was like done properly or poured properly, which I'm not convinced this one was. It had an odd smell to it. And I have more bad news when it comes to Goose Creek, unfortunately. I also finished burning this soft linen breeze and baby powder. Oh, these are dirty candles too. These candles have been bumping around in the candle closet since spring. I had a hard time getting through them, and not because I was enjoying them so much that I was rationing them. Let's talk about soft linen breeze first. Someone in my comment section deemed this collection from Goose Creek their white shed, the white shed collection. And this soft linen breeze, I do believe, is meant to be a dupe of sun-drenched linen from Bath & Body Works, but it is not nearly as good as sun-drenched linen from Bath & Body Works. I really like that candle. And this one smells similar, but is not a great candle. The scent notes on here are clean linens, warm summer breeze, and soft lavender. And so, yeah, very similar to what we see on sun-drenched linen from Bath & Body Works. Unfortunately, this, you know, the word soft is in here. It says soft linen breeze. Nothing about this candle came across as soft to me. It's very laundry detergent, unfortunately. And you know, that sun-drenched linen has that laundry detergent vibe as well, but you can sort of pick apart the nuance of the fragrances that are in that candle to give it that vibe, whereas this really kind of just smells like cleaning supplies to me. Like a lavender laundry detergent, but I feel like there's an apple note in sun-drenched linen, which helps to balance out the soapiness a little bit and give it that sort of sunny vibe. Whereas this has a little bit more of like a gasoline kerosene vibe. And I'm gonna get into this baby powder as well, because I actually had a fairly similar experience with this. Once again, part of the White Shed, the White Shed collection from Goose Creek. I will say that I love the glass on these candles. I actually really like how this collection looked. They also had Midnight Vanilla in this collection, and I like the simplicity of the label and everything, and I love the frosted glass, but neither of these candles worked for me at all. I think baby powder might have been even worse. I shouldn't have bothered. I don't think I had ever burned a baby powder candle before, and so I was kind of interested just to see if I would like it or not. And I was expecting something kind of like lovely and soft and gentle and powdery, and this is like not that. This is like, okay, the scent notes are soft powder, lavender cloud, and sheer lemon. Oh. So both of these candles, I had a very similar experience with. I mean, this does smell like baby powder, but not in like a soft, gentle way. I wouldn't be letting this anywhere near my baby. You stay away from my baby. This is not the baby powder that I think has had the FDA approval. Let me tell you that. And so, like I just said earlier, I've been burning Goose Creek candles now for about 2 years. Okay, and I love their brand. I love a lot of Goose Creek candles. I would say that I like far more of them than I've disliked them. So they have a pretty good average with me. I'd say, I mean, even though I've only been burning them for a couple of years, I've probably easily burned 200 Goose Creek candles, you know? Like, I've definitely been going through them. And so there have been complaints that I've seen on like message boards and on Reddit and comment sections. And the number one complaint that I usually see from Goose Creek and people who don't buy from Goose Creek is that some of their candles end up with sort of a kerosene kind of gasoline chemically smell. And I had never had that experience before with their candles up until these two candles, which I bought at the same time and was burning around the exact same time as each other. I had never understood what people were saying when they were like, oh, the first half was okay, but then the last half of the candle was like a chemically gasoline vibe, and I can't stand it. I don't buy from that brand, and it almost felt like it was triggering like an allergic reaction. And in fact, we have heard from some fairly prominent candle reviewers that they have had allergic reactions to Goose Creek candles. I know that it's happened to Sarita, and that's why she doesn't buy from them. I know it has happened from Katie. It's happened to Katie from Katie's Joyful Life, and that's why she doesn't buy from them. And now, unfortunately, I'm starting to see what people are saying. Although, like I've said, I've probably burned like between 1 to 200 candles over the course of like 2 years, and I've never had that problem until both of these fragrances. I don't want to really keep smelling them, but both of them, I thought that the first half of the candle did okay, smelled nice enough, not great fragrances in my opinion, really lacking nuance. And both of these, both these fragrances, Soft Linen Breeze and Baby Powder, I thought they'd both be soft and light and powdery, but what I got, the first half was okay. The last half was nasty. And in fact, I only got through this much of these candles because I burned the first third of them in my place. I burned the second third of them outside, and the last third, I've just had enough. I feel like I'm polluting the environment. I feel like I am polluting the environment burning these candles. Not only did they get kind of sooty and a little bit discolored, I think baby powder was worse. Baby powder, you can really see. baby powder really, really got yucky. And I'm not gonna say that I had like a full-blown allergic reaction to these candles, but I did have a very strong negative reaction to them. You know, like I did not enjoy the way they smelled. They smelled like something was wrong with them. I completely understand what people are saying now when they say some of their candles get a little gasoline-y or like kerosene. Like that is absolutely what happened to both of those. Not repurchases for me or recommendations for you. I mean, Soft Linen Breeze, I would much rather just get sun-drenched linen from Bath and Body Works, and baby powder, I don't know why I don't want to smell baby powder ever again. I really don't. I'm done with it. Now, these are some scathing reviews here. Like I just did strawberry sponge cake, Soft Linen Breeze, baby powder. Really don't have anything nice to say about any of those candles at all. And that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbled for this weekly wax wrap up. Like those are probably my 3 least favorite candles that I've ever burned from Goose Creek. I've never had such a bad experience. And like I said, I'm glad that I had Mountainside Lake in this week's wrap up because this was fabulous. This was a fantastic, beautiful, clean burning candle. Really, really lovely. I think something was wrong with these other 3. I really, really do. And I'm starting to understand now where some of the comments that I've seen online come from. However, you know, I'm also, you know, in the middle of burning probably about 10 Goose Creek candles right now that are absolutely lovely and gorgeous and are not making my eyes water. So yeah, it was just a bad luck week for me with Goose Creek for sure. Okay, let's move on. I also finished up a Cliffside Sunrise from Yankee Candle. This is their big, like 20-ounce 2-wick tumbler. I really think that the clip art on this one is one of the worst, probably. This is really not an attractive candle, especially when the wax is gone. The wax did look really, really beautiful. This was a really, really pretty colored wax in here. 2 wicks on these, 20-ounce tumblers. Let me get the scent notes from the website. Their little scent story says, "This is a fruity fragrance. An early morning hike brings you to an idyllic seaside scene with the sun's first light. Exotic fruit and flower scents are carried along in the warm breeze, accompanied by notes of strawberry, geranium, and hibiscus." All right, so the top notes that we get are hibiscus, strawberry, and dwarf citrus. Are we supposed to be calling it dwarf citrus anymore? A dwarf citrus, I think, would probably mean like a Meyer lemon or a kumquat, like one of those citrus trees that stay pretty small. Top notes: hibiscus, strawberry, dwarf citrus. Middle notes: nectarine, red fruit, and geranium. Base notes: sparkling wine nectar and praline. Now, what I think that this is I think that this is Yankee Candle's answer to Capri Blue Volcano. I think this is Yankee Candle's version of Capri Blue Volcano. I had never burned this fragrance before and I ordered it online, so I wasn't too sure what to expect. As soon as I smelled it on cold, the first thing I thought of was this Capri Blue Volcano fragrance. And every candle company has a dupe out there of Capri Blue Volcano. The Goose Creek one is called Volcanic Sunrise. The Bath and Body Works one is Midnight Blue Citrus, which I actually think is a really good one. And so yeah, this is Yankee's Capri Blue Volcano, and I thought it was all right. It's a very, very like fruity forward fragrance. I wouldn't say there's a ton of like depth and nuance to this one. It's definitely not as lovely as the actual Capri Blue Volcano, and I don't think it's as good as Midnight Blue Citrus from Bath and Body Works either, but it's not terrible. It's a really lovely, pleasant, sort of fruity fragrance with a little bit of a floral in there. and a bit of a smooth sweetness in the base. Let's get into these scent notes. Hibiscus and geranium are the floral notes. I would be hard pressed to be able to actually pick out a specific floral, but geranium doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I'd say it's more of like the hibiscus. Definitely a touch of strawberry in there and citrus and a stone fruit. I'd say it's like a citrusy strawberry stone fruit fragrance. Yeah, those are the three most prominent notes in this for me. The strawberry, the citrus, and the nectarine. I don't know if I would necessarily pick out nectarine. I'd say, once again, it's more of a generic sort of sweet, watery stone fruit. I thought it was nice, didn't blow me away. Not gonna be a repurchase for me or a recommendation for you. The candle just didn't perform very well. And I actually have had some decent luck with Yankee. In last week's weekly wax wrap up, I did Ocean Air. I thought that was a really lovely candle. This one burned really nice. And I've got to say, for the most part, with this format of candles from Yankee, I never really have any complaints about the way they burn. They never dud out. They never give you itty bitty wicks or teeny tiny flames. Really nice clean burn to the bottom there. Like I hardly see any soot or discoloration on the glass. The problem was the strength and throw. Pretty lost in my more open space. I'd say in my more open space, I put it in a hurricane. I still couldn't really just smell it. I had to be maybe about 4 paces away from the candle when it was in a hurricane to be able to smell it. So I'd give it a 4 in my more open area. It did a little bit better in the bedroom. I'd say in the bedroom in a hurricane, it was a 5. So I could walk into the bedroom and I could just detect that it was there. This candle actually spent most of its time in the primary bathroom in a hurricane. And in there, I'd say it was like getting to like a 5.5 or a 6. Not terrible. If I put this in teeny bathroom, it would probably be like a 6, a solid 6 for strength and throw. So yeah, this is a candle, you got a small space, hurricane it to really be able to get much out of it. Yeah, not a repurchase for me or a recommendation for you. Not terrible, just not good either, I also finished up this Maleficent, this single wick Maleficent candle from Bath and Body Works. I really like the way that these single wicks looked, actually. Very similar to the way the 3-wick candle looks. And we had kind of a cool sort of gunmetal lid on this one. I should have probably just talked about this candle last week, because last week I talked about the Maleficent 3-wick candle. I like this fragrance quite a bit. The scent notes are Sinister Plum, Midnight Berries, and Mystical Woods. I like this fragrance. I thought that I was going to like Maleficent more than I liked the Evil Queen, but I actually ended up liking the Evil Queen more. This one, to me, reminds me quite a bit of Into the Night, except this has a more fruity component to it. Into the Night has that sort of dark raspberry note, where this is more fruity. There's like a dark plumminess and a dark berryness happening. And so ultimately, I couldn't help but compare this fragrance to Into the Night. And ultimately, I would prefer to have just been burning Into the Night. So I ended up not enjoying this as much as I thought I would, but I think it's a good fragrance. I thought it was really nice. I like a lot of the deeper, darker, fruity florals that we get from Bath and Body Works. And I thought it was a good fragrance. The single wick, I did burn it a lot of the time when I was burning the 3-wick candle in my more open space, but this did also spend a lot of time in the small bathroom in a hurricane. And in the small bathroom in a hurricane, I'd say it got up to like a 5 or a 5.5. You could walk in there, you could definitely smell it. I don't usually have any complaints about the way single wicks from Bath and Body Works perform. I burned it all the way down to the very bottom there. It pooled out in a nice amount of time. I appreciate that you can let the single wicks from BBW burn for a good like 4 or 5 hours and they don't really cause you any problems. So yeah, I'd say that for a single wick candle from Bath & Body Works, this was pretty successful. I never tried burning it in my more open area like on its own. I don't think I really would have been able to pick up on it much at all. But in a smaller space in a hurricane, it did all right and served its purpose. I burned it outside one night for quite a while also. I thought it looked really nice when it was burning. I also finished up this vanilla bean single wick from Goose Creek, and this is their sort of core, always around like vanilla fragrance. And I think that Goose Creek does fabulous jobs with their vanilla fragrances. So I was really expecting the vanilla bean would be great. I didn't love it, guys. I really didn't. I think it's really kind of a flat vanilla fragrance. The scent notes on here are warm vanilla, buttercream icing, marshmallow sugar, and milky vanilla cream. Milky vanilla cream. Warm vanilla, buttercream icing, marshmallow sugar, and milky vanilla cream. I think that this fragrance is kind of flat. You know what I would recommend above vanilla bean is their buttercream sprinkles fragrance. That's a really good, nice, like rich vanilla. And buttercream sprinkles gets repackaged at Christmas time as white Christmas cake. I think that should be like their mainstay sort of vanilla fragrance, because this one is just, it's really kind of flat. It's not like the vanilla bean candle from Bath & Body Works. The vanilla bean candle from Bath & Body Works is actually a fairly like bright and sweet and like lovely vanilla bean note, whereas this is more of like a baked vanilla something, but without a bakery component. Like, it's kind of soft and a little bit darker than you would expect it to be. And it's got kind of a, I don't know. I've burned so many vanilla candles and vanilla blend candles from Goose Creek. I figured their plain old vanilla bean would probably hit it out of the park, but I'm just not obsessed with the actual fragrance very much. It's a little bit flat to me is all I can really say. And also, I would say that it's sort of teetering into that territory of vanilla fragrances that you might find like at the supermarket. You know what I mean? Like a Glade, or maybe even like a vanilla candle that you would get from the dollar store. Not one of the vanilla dollar store candles, it's only $1 or $2. It would probably be one of the vanilla dollar store candles that's like $4 or $5, but still like a vanilla bean dollar store type situation. Yeah. However, the single wick, it burned really nicely. It pooled out in a reasonable amount of time. I hate it when single wicks take like forever to pool out, because you don't want to blow them out until they pool out, or else they're going to tunnel unless you get all up in there and put it under a lamp and fix it and what have you. I like the fact, especially considering it's a fairly wide diameter for a single wick, I liked how quickly it pooled out. Really not much happening for strength and throw though. Really nice clean burn all the way down to the bottom. But the only way I really experienced this fragrance was by smelling it on cold. I'd say like even once I put it into the small bathroom in a hurricane, I had to be like hovering near it to be able to smell it. So I've got to give this like a 2 for strength and throw. And that is like in the small bathroom in a hurricane. So really didn't do much. And I have burned single wicks from Goose Creek before that have done all right. I have burned some that have like had, a 5 or a 6 in a small space in a hurricane. This one really didn't have much going on. And something about the lightness of this vanilla it was really light. Something about the lightness of this vanilla was just a little too light, as in couldn't smell it. Anyways, yeah. That's all I've got for you folks today in terms of candles. Holy smokes, you guys. I'm starting to feel like a crazy person. I'm not going to get into candle company news right now because I've pre-recorded this video like 2 weeks ahead of time. So by the time this is actually coming out, I'm sure that Goose Creek has released 2 or 3 new collections. I'm sure Bath and Body Works has had like 5 different candle sales. I think that Homeworks was just about to release like a Christmas winter collection before I record this, and rumor has also been quite strong that we're getting a bunch of like Kringle stuff happening very soon too. I think 3 Wicks. I think they're doing a bunch of like winter and Christmas 3 Wicks, but this is all hearsay, conjecture, and rumors at this point, so I'm not gonna dig into all that stuff too much. Yeah, so I am in England right now. I'll be coming back pretty soon. If you're watching this on Sunday, I will be back on Thanksgiving Monday, which is tomorrow. I'm sure I've had a fabulous trip. I've been to see Lady Gaga at the O2 Arena. I was in London, Birmingham, Manchester, having a really good time, I'm sure. On next Sunday, that weekly wax wrap-up will be the first weekly wax wrap-up in a long time that I'll be recording and posting on that day. So I'm sure I'm going to have tons of great news and fun things to share with you next week. But this week, I'm just like, it's like 11 o'clock here. I've been pre-recording videos to post while I'm away for the last like 7 hours. I'm starting to feel pretty nuts. You know what else I'm going to do at my weekly wax wrap up next week though? We are going to start the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recaps. Yes, I've been thinking on it long and hard. As of now, I've watched the first 2 episodes of the new season of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and these women are just as batty and weird and crazy and criminal as they have ever been. I mean, these women are just absolutely nuts. This season looks like it's gonna be wild. I'm not gonna cover it. I've been getting asked a lot if I'm gonna do show recaps anymore ever since And Just Like That finished. I'm not gonna recap this show every week. Maybe every second week we're gonna do a check-in. We're gonna do a catch-up about it because man, these first 2 episodes just really knocked it out of the park, but we still haven't had the taglines yet. You know, in the opening sequence when you see all the housewives and the music is like dun 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 dun, and they're like, my Real Housewife tagline would be, you don't have to be a real woman to be a real housewife. You know how they have their taglines? I don't much see the point of starting to do a recap of that show until I can go through each of the girls and say that, like, this is their tagline this season, and this is why we love them, this is why we hate them, this is why we're going to spend the next 3 months making fun of them. I mean, these women are nuts. So next week, get ready, grab a snack. We're doing Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recaps, just as a fun little, like, bonus at the end of this episode here. Anyways, I've got to get lost, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends. I have a plane to catch. Ooh, I did want to share with you, I'm taking a book with me. Whenever I go on a trip that's like longer than a week or 2, I like to bring a nice, big, thickalicious book with me, and I like an actual book. You know, I have not converted over to a Kindle situation yet or an audio book. I like a nice big book that I can like run my fingers through and smell the pages, you know what I mean? So this is going to be my reading material for this trip, and this is called Unlovable by Darren Hayes. And it says, a memoir from the voice of Savage Garden. So if you guys, you know, and most of the people that watch this channel are in like my age group. So if you remember, I wanna stand with you on a mountain, I wanna bathe, you know that song? Truly, madly, deeply. I'll be your dream, I'll be your wish, I'll be your fantasy. I mean, this was some, Savage Garden was some 90s goodness. There was also that I Want You song. Ooh, I want you like a chicken cherry cola. Anyways, I loved Savage Garden. This was around the time I was in high school. And then the band broke up. And then the band broke up, and I really felt like my college years, my formative years after high school, as opposed to listening to Savage Garden's music, I listened to Darren Hayes. Darren Hayes was like the lead singer. He really was the group, you know? There was the other guy in the group. The other guy in the group really just played the instruments and production, I think. But Darren Hayes did most of like the songwriting and all of the singing. Oh my God, there is a picture of them from like way back in the day. Man, and so I really felt like my formative 20s were spent listening to the solo music of Darren Hayes. And if you liked Savage Garden and you never heard any of this guy's solo music, I would really recommend checking it out. And I would start with an album called This Delicate Thing We've Made. Oh my goodness, this album is a beautiful hour-and-a-half long opus and beautiful pop songs, ballads, dance songs, like everything. I really love Darren Hayes. I think it's a shame that his solo career really never took off in North America at all. He continued to be pretty popular and successful in the UK, which is part of the reason why I'm taking this book with me. You know, I just have so much respect for this guy, and I ordered this book when it first came out a long time ago, but I haven't had the chance to get around to it, so now is the time. This is gonna be my reading material for sure. Oh, we've got a quote from Rosie O'Donnell. Says, "The truth of all rock stars told with heartbreaking honesty. Read this book, you will love it as I did." Oh, that was nice of Rosie to give you a big shout out there, Darren Hayes. This just makes me so nostalgic, you guys. Oh my goodness, Savage Garden. Like, for real, back in the day. Chicken cherry cola. Anyways, all right, gonna leave it there, folks. Got a couple more pre-recorded videos I'm going to post, but I'm gonna be back to recording and posting on a more regular and live basis once I'm back in town. I hope you've all been really well. We're gonna schedule like a live party pretty soon to celebrate 2,000 followers, and I'm gonna do a giveaway during that live, so stay tuned to get a date and a time for that. We're gonna figure it out as soon as we can here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you for watching. If you could hit me up with a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, that would really mean the world to me. You can follow me on Instagram at allaboutcandles and email those burning questions to allaboutcandles@gmail.com. And until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye now. Chicken cherry cola.